Traffic and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Wouldn't you suggest that those who support equal opportunity should also support school choice?
Absolutely. I believe school education choice, whether through the expansion of charter schools, vouchers, particularly education savings accounts, has to be one of the highest priorities as we move forward in a world post preferences. But a lot of people like to talk about race as it relates to higher education, but here's how the interaction of race, class, education, and politics actually works today. Black progressives, particularly politicians in the media, will rail against school choice on the K through 12 level, particularly vouchers, oftentimes being supported by teachers' unions. They send their own children to private schools.
Right.
They summer on Martha's Vineyard, and then when it's time to apply to Harvard, they turn around and cite education disparities in the inner city to justify why their children need racial preferences. So to me, if anyone wants to talk about, race and education and outcomes, and they are not for education choice, I think that's a big problem. And I'll submit, I'll make a quick policy suggestion for the committee's hearing. I think any elected official, regardless of their jurisdiction, who stands against school choice should be required to send their child to the lowest performing school in their district. Because if the schools are not good enough for your child, then they shouldn't be good enough for mine either.
That is Delano Squires at Capitol Hill testifying about school choice. Joining us to discuss this and more is Terris Todd. He's Director of Coalitions and Outreach for the Project 21 Black Leadership Network. He recently served as the Coalition's engagement at the Heritage Foundation in D.C. He was previously a director of the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for African Americans in the U.S. Department of Education. Terris, welcome to The Morning Answer.
Thank you very much for having me, and I recognize Delano's voice anywhere, man. That's my brother.
I love him. I was just with him. I don't know if you were there at the White House Black History Month celebration. Were you there? Oh, man, I wish I would have got to shake your hands then. I was also there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Even though we were cooning and, Uncle Tom, and according to... Yeah, we were cooning and Uncle Tom, according to a pastor out in Atlanta. So
I already know. I talked about it the other day. He called us runaway slaves and said, well, that's the point. We ran away. You still there.
Oh, my God. Terris, and I hope I'm saying your name wrong because I'm a butcher of names.
No, you're saying it right, Terris, yeah.
Okay. Now, you served at some of the highest levels of education policy. What was the moment that made you say the Department of Education needs to go?
You know what? When I got there, when to be honest with you, when I was appointed by the Trump administration in its first term, which is what brought me to D.C. in the first place, because I'm originally from Battle Creek, Michigan. When I realized and I saw exactly what was going on, and then I realized also that, the majority of school funding comes from state and local government, and really the federal government, though the U.S. Department of Education, has less than 10% interest in our schools. So that's when I realized, I'm like, well, why do we have someone who has the smallest amount of investment, pulling the strings like this? So it made no sense to me. Whatsoever.
Yeah, you said that education should be about excellence, not equity. Can you unpack that and explain why that message resonates so strongly in our community?
Absolutely. Well, because excellence, it's something that we're always striving for, right? If we're really after students mastering the content or the curriculum, then why is the equity thing even involved? I mean, it seems like everything would be an even playing field once we obtain excellence, right? So we want our students to retain the information that they're being given, not trying to really push certain political agendas and whatnot just for the sake of trying to virtue signal, but we want them to be excellent. And unfortunately, that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing the opposite. We're actually going backwards. Matter of fact, in some cases, we're going so far back, we're back during the slavery times. because, our ancestors literally taught themselves to read and write. And so nowadays, these jokers are graduating not being able to read at grade level. That's unfortunate. And this is with more technology and access to the world right in the palm of their hands, but yet they struggle with reading at a grade level, and it's really unfortunate. But we failed, man. We have absolutely failed our students and families, and truthfully, families, I don't let them off the hook either, because really it all starts at home, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Hi, Terris Todd. He's Director of Coalitions and Outreach for the Project 21. Good morning, Terris. This is Amy Jacobson. I'm co-hosting with John Anthony
today. Wonderful. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you.
So what are your reading and math levels there in Michigan and in the Detroit area at the public schools?
Well, actually, I'm actually in D.C. now, so I've been out this way for a number of years. And to be honest with you, when I look at things, though, I look from a national perspective. To be honest with you, I look at the scores. I mean, literally, when you look at 4th and 8th grade, so that's kind of like the measuring point, right? So when you look at 4th and 8th grade, neither one of them actually reached 40% in proficiency in reading or math. And that's nationwide. If you want to look at who's really doing well, look at the state of Mississippi, because they're growing. They are literally growing. Student achievement is ramping up. They're above national averages in many areas and whatnot. And so it was really enlightening to see and hear that they're having some success down there. But what did they do? They went back to the basics. They didn't complicate anything. They went back to the basics. School choice is a big thing in their state and whatnot, and many other states. And so school choice has been proven to be the answer. And it's not so much to dismantle public schools, but we also believe that parents should have a right to choose where they send their kids to school, because they're the first and primary authority in their children's lives. And so when we box them in like that, to say that, they can only attend these schools or whatever, to me, that sounds like a plantation to me.
Well, you mentioned that parents should be held accountable. In what way, and how would you enforce that? Being accountable for their children's success in school, or sounds like you're asking them to be helicopter parents a little bit. Which is fine. That works for some people. For other kids, my one kid needed to be helicoptered, so to speak. I don't know if I'm making up a verb. But the other one, I didn't have to worry about. And I'd never called teachers. I just didn't do any of that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we went to CPS, non-selective enrollment, high school.
Yeah. And see, the beautiful thing about what you just said, though, that each child is different. So that, again, makes the case for why we need choice, because not everyone's the same. My 3 daughters, for example, all 3 of them were in public schools, but we sent our 2 youngest daughters to one school district, and our other daughter stayed at another school district, because that's what matched them, And so, and they all were National Honor Society students. They graduated on honor roll. Matter of fact, my oldest daughter graduated in top 10 of her class, and now she's on track for med school, and so every child is different. And if we believe that, and that's one thing in education, they'll always say, every child is different and they learn at different rates and they have different learning styles, whatever, then why do we give them the same test at the same time?
Yeah. Terris,
you know what I mean? Why do we say that they have to go to the same schools? Why do we not give the parents and those students the option of where they think is best for them?
Terris, when you think about Michigan, they rank 43rd out of 48 in states with a 4-year in a 4-year high school graduation rate. That's 82.1%. When you look at Donald Trump, a businessman, Linda McMahon, a businesswoman,
absolutely.
If you had to look at them, do you think how do I want to phrase this? I actually had it here. I'm just looking for it now. If the Department of Education was a business and had Illinois and Michigan's education stats as its performance report, would it still be in business or under federal investigation?
It will be under federal investigation. Matter of fact, we can take a look at Benton Harbor, Michigan, right? Benton Harbor, that school district was dismantled, and the state had to come in, right? The state had to come in. Oh, absolutely. The state had to come in and actually oversee what was going on there, because it was falling like they say, down with a blaze of glory, right? So it was on a path to nowhere. But the state had to literally come in and take over. Yeah. And and that's really unfortunate. That's really what happens And because we should not allow Washington to dictate what we're doing on the state and local level. That just makes no sense to me. You have people that are here that are being bought and sold in the public square still to this day. Whoever's the highest bidder, that's who they go to. But yet they know nothing about what's happening in your hometown. They know nothing about that. So we should never allow for Washington to dictate that, and especially with less than 10% interest in those school districts in the first place. But you're absolutely right. These are business people, so for them, it's the bottom line. Why are we investing in a sinking ship? And what's happened today is that failure gets rewarded.
Yes.
Right? So we've been rewarding failure, and we know that our ancestors never taught us that. We were always taught to work hard and to do well, and you'll be successful or whatever. But now it's like the least amount you do, you don't have to prove your success, and we'll still pay you for it. That's crazy.
So where do you go from here? What's your next plan of attack?
Next plan of attack is really, really pushing for the entire nation to have school choice options, because again, it's a sinking ship, and I believe that the Department of Education, it should be dismantled because we fail. We have no interest whatsoever. They run no schools. They have no staff. How is it that you got people who are running teacher associations making twice, sometimes 3 times more than teachers who are literally have their hands on students? They're in the classroom. That money doesn't make it down to the classroom. They create new positions for their friends that make 6-figure salaries, and none of this money ever makes it to the classroom. And so I think the way forward is school choice, giving these parents more options to decide what's best for their kids.
Yeah, but you got to fight the big bad unions. I mean,
yeah.
Randy Weingarten, by the way, who makes more than $500,000 a year, $568,000.
And that's exactly who I was referring to.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, have you ever had a conversation with her?
Nope, I don't want to have a conversation. I don't need to have a conversation with her, because the deal is that she's not dealing with students and parents. She's running no classroom. She's running no school building. She doesn't have to worry about what kid didn't eat that morning.
Well, she doesn't have children either. I mean, I can say that I'm a woman.
Absolutely. She doesn't have to worry about a kid, getting off the bus and their family's not home. She doesn't have to worry about those families going to a homeless shelter that night. She doesn't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah, Terris.
But guess who's paying her salary? Teachers are.
That's true. Terris, when you look at blue states like Illinois, Michigan, are these blue states ready to handle taking back control of education? And what do you say to that conservative parent who's afraid that they'll double down, learning about gender unicorns in the Constitution?
Yeah, well, see, that's just it. So, parents, to be honest with you, that's why it was so disgraceful that parents were being locked out of school board meetings and stuff like that. I think once they get more engaged politically and really take back their school district, they got to get on school boards. They have to be on those PTAs, PTOs, or whatever. They really have to get involved in that, so that way their voice will be heard a lot more loud and clear. But really, to be honest with you, I'm shocked, though, that Illinois, because I actually am in touch with some people in Illinois, Illinois has been pretty friendly for the most part for homeschool.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
No,
Well, there's a House bill pending.
House Bill 2827.
I love House bills.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's actually.
I don't like this one.
There are criminal elements of the bill. If the parents don't turn in a form, they can become a criminal. A parent has to have a high school diploma or GED to even teach their kids.
Really?
That's part of the bill as well.
So it's just big government and government intrusion. But also, too, they
that's big
check.
government.
Well, they also check vaccinations.
Yeah, that too.
And that's
parents'
business.
Yeah, when I spoke to a young lady there in Chicago area who does homeschooling stuff, she's originally from Louisiana, which is more friendly, obviously.
Is that Minister Fields? Latasha Fields? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, when I spoke with her, she said, Terris, we may have to pick up and move.
Yeah.
She said, I don't want to do that, but she said, we may have to pick up and move if they keep going down this path. And so that's unfortunate, but yeah.
Hey, Terris, I got one last thing. Complete this sentence. If we don't fix education now, what?
We're in trouble. Because technically, as they say, children are our future, whatever, that's who's going to be running this country. And we're in trouble, man. I mean, education is the great equalizer, and we cannot express that enough. If we don't fix it now, we're in trouble, to be honest with you, because, again, they won't have the rigor, they won't have the knowledge and the understanding of what we need to go forward. And so, but the thing I love about it, though, overall, is that when the pandemic hit, right, and the big government locked us all down, who was smiling all the way to the bank? People who were homeschooled. They didn't miss a beat.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Those who were studying and learning from virtual learning and stuff like that, they didn't miss a beat, man.
Yeah.
So
Well,
everybody else
78
crying
weeks.
and whining and all this stuff.
Is that how long it was?
just-
In Chicago it's for Chicago public schools, 78 straight weeks
Wow.
being locked out of the
78.
school and
Wow.
online learning, which was turned out to be a joke.
Wow. Yeah.
Terris,
It was us in San Francisco.
we got a few more minutes. I do want to understand, so because when I used to serve as a state representative, and I filed the 51% trigger bill here in Illinois. It went nowhere. But do we need school choice or school reform?
Actually, a little bit of both. To tell you the truth. I mean, we definitely need to reform the public schools, but we definitely need people to be able to have the option to go to that school that's been reformed.
Yeah, because that's what's happening in Florida. Because we're building a school down in Florida, K through 12 Christian conservative education, and the money is already waiting for us to once we accept the schools. The money follows the student. That's what needs to happen across America.
That's exactly what needs to happen, because that's what it's for in the first place, right?
Yeah. I don't know if you saw down in Texas, Elon Musk has moved down there. There was a Texas legislator. He thought he was trying to catch Elon Musk up because, he wasn't interviewing Elon Musk, but he was talking about Elon Musk being able to use the money following the student. Well, first of all, Elon Musk pays a substantial amount of the tax base.
True.
So, of course, that's why I'm of the belief, I don't care what the income is, you pay taxes, the money should follow your student.
That's right. Absolutely. That money should follow your student. Well said, 100%.
Well, Terris Todd, he's Director of Coalitions and Outreach for Project 21. You can follow him on X at Terris Todd 62. That's Terris Todd 62. Thank you for joining us on The Morning Answer today.
God bless you guys. Thank you very much for having me.
All right.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Men, are you over 40? Are you struggling with low energy? Low T Center's testosterone replacement therapy is the solution. Hey, it's Dan Proft. I want to get you started today. Visit one of Low T Center's conveniently located clinics and get back to feeling your best. This April only, your consultation is free. Treatment is tailor-made just for you, and it's covered by most major insurance. Get treated at one of their centers or from home. Why wait? Book your appointment now at lowtcenter.com. Tell them Dan